The lobby of the Ashford Country Club smells like lilies and money, the kind of crisp, manufactured elegance that makes people like me feel like we're tracking mud on white carpets just by breathing. I stand there in my navy dress, the one I bought from Macy's clearance rack 3 years ago, my hands clutching a small wrapped gift for Alina, my daughter, my only child. The girl I raised alone after Robert died, leaving us with nothing but grief and a shoebox full of patent documents I couldn't understand. Today is her wedding day, and I should be beaming. Instead, my stomach churns as I watch crystal chandeliers scatter light across marble floors. Everything here costs more than I make in 6 months of night shifts at Mercy General Hospital, mopping floors and emptying trash while doctors and nurses save lives under fluorescent lights. Margaret, the voice cuts through my thoughts like a scalpel, cold, precise. Brendan Hartfield stands before me in his tailored tuxedo, looking every inch the successful corporate attorney he is. Tall, blonde, with the kind of jaw that appears in cologne advertisements. My soon-to-be son-in-law, the man my daughter loves. We need to talk, privately. He doesn't wait for my response, just guides me by the elbow toward a side corridor, away from the early arriving guests. His grip is firm, proprietary, the same way he touches everything in his life, like he owns it. "I'll be direct because we don't have much time," Brendan says, not quite meeting my eyes. He's looking past me at the gilt-framed mirrors on the wall, checking his reflection. The seating arrangement has been carefully planned. My father's business associates will be in the front rows, partners from the firm. Alina's college friends, the ones from Wellesley, obviously. You understand how important appearances are today. My throat tightens. I understand perfectly what he's not saying. I've understood it for months now, watching my daughter slip further into this world of charity galas and wine tastings, watching her stop returning my calls, watching her make excuses about why I couldn't meet her friends. The shame started small, correcting my grammar, changing the subject when I mentioned work. Then it grew. Her visits to my small apartment became rare, then non-existent. "Where would you like me to sit?" I ask quietly, already knowing the answer will cut deep. "Third row back, right side, near the aisle. It's actually a very good spot." He says this like he's doing me a favor, like I should be grateful. My colleagues from the firm will be in attendance, senior partners, clients. The Hartfield family has a certain reputation to maintain. I'm sure you can appreciate that this wedding is about more than just Alina and me. It's about optics, strategic relationships. Strategic relationships. I think about the strategic relationship I had with my husband Robert, a brilliant, awkward engineer who loved puzzles and patent law more than sleep, who died of a sudden heart attack when Alina was 7, leaving me with a second grader to raise and a mountain of documents I couldn't decipher. Strategic wasn't how we loved each other. Strategic wasn't how I held him while he died in our bedroom, waiting for the ambulance that came too late. "Does Alina know you're asking me this?" The words come out steadier than I feel. For the first time, Brendan's composure cracks slightly. "Alina understands the situation. She's been very understanding about the complexities of merging our two very different backgrounds. Two very different backgrounds. Translation. She's ashamed of where she came from, of me. I see." I look down at my hands, rough, red from industrial cleaning solutions, nails trimmed short because long ones catch on latex gloves. These hands changed her diapers, braided her hair, helped with homework, worked double shifts so she could go to summer camp, take piano lessons, attend the private school that set her on the path to Wellesley and this glittering new life. "It's not personal, Margaret." Brendan's voice takes on that practiced sympathy they probably teach in law school. "After today, you'll always be family, but today needs to be perfect. You understand, don't you?" I understand that my daughter is somewhere in this building, probably in a bridal suite surrounded by attendants and champagne, and she sent her fiancé to handle me like an inconvenient problem. I understand that the little girl who used to fall asleep in my lap while I read her stories, has grown into a woman who wants to pretend those nights never happened. I understand completely, I say. Relief floods Brendan's face. Excellent, I knew you'd be reasonable. I'm sorry. Brendan's eyebrows rise. I said I won't be staying. Please give Alina my love and tell her I hope she finds happiness. I hold out the small wrapped gift, a pearl necklace that belonged to my mother, the only valuable thing I inherited from my own family. This was meant for her, something old. She can decide what to do with it. Brendan doesn't take the gift. He's staring at me like I've started speaking in tongues. You're leaving. You can't leave. You're the mother of the bride. Not today, it seems. Today I'm just a strategic inconvenience. I set the gift on a side table. Excuse me. I walk back toward the main entrance, my sensible low heels clicking against marble. Behind me I hear Brendan calling out, flustered now, his attorney's composure cracking. Margaret, wait, this is ridiculous. You're being emotional. Emotional. As if a mother's heartbreaking is just an inconvenient feeling to be managed and dismissed. I make it outside into the late spring sunshine. The country club's circular driveway is already filling with expensive cars, Mercedes, BMWs, a Bentley. Valets in crisp uniforms jog between vehicles. I see women in designer dresses and men in tailored suits, all of them belonging to this world in a way I never will. My fingers tremble as I pull out my phone. For a long moment, I just stand there holding it, staring at the contact list. Then I scroll to a name I've called many times over the years, usually about work schedules and hospital maintenance issues. Dr. Harrison Collimore answers on the second ring. Margaret, is everything all right? Harrison has been the chief administrator at Mercy General for 12 years. He's seen me at my worst, bone-tired after double shifts, grieving over patients who didn't make it, crying in the supply closet after particularly hard nights. He's also seen me at my best. The time I stayed 4 hours past my shift to help clean an entire wing after a plumbing disaster, or when I organized the staff to donate to a nurse's family after her house fire. Harrison, I need to ask you something. My voice sounds strange to my own ears. Calm, decided. Is the gala still happening tonight? There's a pause. The gala, Margaret, that's your event. Of course it's still happening. The entire board is already preparing. We've got over 300 confirmed guests. But aren't you supposed to be at your daughter's wedding today? I thought. Plans changed. I interrupt gently. Would it be possible for some of the board to come here first, to the Ashford Country Club? There's something I need them to witness. Another pause, longer this time. Harrison knows me well enough not to ask questions when my mind is made up. Let me make some calls. How much time do we have? The ceremony starts in 40 minutes. We'll be there in 25. I hang up and find a bench in the shade of an old oak tree, far enough from the entrance that the arriving guests don't notice me. I sit with my hands folded in my lap, thinking about the choices we make and the people we become. 15 years ago, I was a widow with a young daughter and a box full of documents I couldn't understand. Robert's patents, complex engineering designs for medical imaging equipment, seemed like just another piece of the life we'd lost. But a lawyer friend convinced me to get them evaluated. What we discovered changed everything. Robert's innovations were revolutionary. 3 separate patents that major medical equipment manufacturers had been trying to develop for years. Within 18 months, I'd negotiated licensing agreements worth $12 million, with ongoing royalties that continued to pour in year after year. I could have stopped working, could have bought a mansion, hired help, lived like the Hartfields, but I remembered who I was, a custodian's daughter who married an engineer and raised a child on love and sacrifice. The money terrified me, so I made a choice. I would keep working, keep my life simple, and use the fortune to help others quietly. The first donation was $5 million to Mercy General's pediatric wing, the wing where Alina had been treated for pneumonia when she was 9, where the doctors saved her life. I made it anonymously through a foundation I established, stipulating only that the money go to treating children regardless of their family's ability to pay. Other donations followed: scholarships for nursing students, grants for medical research, a new MRI machine, funding for a mental health clinic, all anonymous, all managed through the foundation, with only Harrison and the hospital's board knowing the truth, that the night custodian who mopped their floors was also their largest benefactor. Alina knew we weren't struggling anymore. I'd paid for Wellesley without loans, helped with her apartment in Boston, but I never told her the full extent of it. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe if she'd known, she wouldn't have grown so ashamed. Or maybe she would have just hidden it better, afraid people would think she didn't earn her place in their world. A black sedan pulls into the driveway, followed by another, then another. 5 cars in total, sleek and official-looking. I stand as they park in a neat row near the entrance. Dr. Harrison Collimore emerges from the first vehicle, tall and distinguished in his charcoal suit. He's 65, with silver hair and the calm authority of someone who runs a major metropolitan hospital. Behind him come people I've known for years, though most guests here wouldn't recognize them without their hospital badges. Dr. Sarah Chen, Chief of Pediatrics. Marcus Washington, Head of the Hospital Board. Dr. James Okonkwo, our lead cardiac surgeon. Patricia Reynolds, Director of Development. And others, board members, department heads, community leaders who serve on the foundation I established. Harrison walks directly to me, concern etched on his face. "Margaret, what's going on?" I can see Brendan at the entrance now, staring at the convoy of expensive cars and professionally dressed people. His confusion is evident even from here. This wasn't part of his carefully planned optics. "I want to leave," I say simply, "but I want my daughter to understand what she's done, what she's chosen." Harrison's eyes soften. He understands immediately. He's seen enough of human nature running a hospital to know how people can break each other's hearts. "What do you need from us?" "The truth, just the truth." By now, Brendan has approached, along with several wedding guests who have been drawn by the unusual arrival. I can see his father, Sterling Hartfield, a silver-haired man with the bearing of old money, and Brendan's mother, Candace, dripping in pearls and judgment. "Can I help you?" Brendan asks Harrison, trying to regain control of the situation. His lawyer voice is back, smooth, authoritative. "I'm afraid this is a private event." "Dr. Collimore," Harrison extends his hand, which Brendan shakes reflexively. "Chief Administrator of Mercy General Hospital. I'm here for Mrs. Sutton." "Mrs. Sutton?" Brendan looks at me, then back at Harrison. "I don't understand." "Margaret is. She works at the hospital, yes, but—" "She does indeed work at the hospital," Harrison says, his voice carrying that natural authority that fills boardrooms and emergency rooms. "She's been our night custodian for over 15 years, one of our finest employees, but that's not why we're here." More wedding guests are gathering now, smartphones appearing, the modern instinct to document anything unusual. I see Alina's college friends, Brendan's law firm colleagues, the carefully curated guest list of people meant to witness a perfect merger of ambition and aspiration. Dr. Sarah Chen steps forward. She's tiny, barely 5 feet tall, but her presence is immense. "We're here because this evening, Mercy General is hosting its annual benefactor gala. This year's event is particularly special. We're dedicating the newly expanded pediatric wing and honoring our foundation's primary donor." "That's very nice," Brendan says, impatient now, "but I fail to see what this has to do with my wedding." "The donor we're honoring is Margaret Sutton," Marcus Washington interrupts, his deep voice brooking no argument. Mrs. Sutton has contributed over $18 million to Mercy General over the past 14 years, funding our pediatric wing, our research programs, nursing scholarships, and community health initiatives. Her foundation has changed thousands of lives. The silence that follows is profound. I watch color drain from Brendan's face. His mother's hand flies to her pearl necklace, real ones, unlike the paste ones I'm wearing. Sterling Hartfield's expression shifts from confusion to calculation, probably already reassessing the strategic relationship he thought his son was making. That's impossible, Brendan stammers. Margaret works as a custodian. She lives in a small apartment. She drives a 15-year-old Honda. By choice, I say quietly, finding my voice. After my husband died, his patents were worth a considerable sum. I chose to continue working because it kept me grounded. Because the people at Mercy General, the nurses, the doctors, the other custodians, they're real. They don't care about optics or strategic relationships. They care about saving lives and helping people. Alina appears at the entrance. She's breathtaking in her wedding dress, a confection of silk and lace that probably cost more than I make in a year. Her face is pale, makeup not quite hiding the shock in her eyes. She must have heard something, come to investigate. Mom. Her voice is small, uncertain. The word feels like it's traveled from very far away. I look at my daughter, really look at her. I see the little girl who used to help me garden in our tiny backyard, who made me birthday cards from construction paper and glitter. I also see the woman she's become, standing in a dress that costs a fortune, about to marry into a world where people like me are supposed to know our place and keep to it. Hello, sweetheart. You look beautiful. What's going on? Why are all these people here? She's looking between me and Harrison, trying to make sense of it. Dr. Okonkwo, who performed the heart surgery that saved Alina from a childhood defect when she was 12, steps forward. Alina, Alina Sutton, my God, I haven't seen you since you were a child. Your mother, he stops, emotion thick in his voice. Your mother's donation funded the equipment that saved your life, and hundreds of other children since then. Alina's face crumbles. She's not stupid, she's never been stupid. She's realizing in real time what this means, what she's done, who she's been ashamed of. We came to escort Mrs. Sutton to the gala, Harrison says, his voice gentle now but clear enough for everyone to hear. The smartphones are definitely recording now. I can see the little red lights, the way people angle for better views. This will be on social media within minutes. The entire board agreed that honoring someone of Margaret's character and generosity is more important than any other engagement tonight. Mrs. Sutton, Sterling Hartfield speaks for the first time, his voice measured. He's looking at me with new eyes, not warmth exactly, but recognition. Respect. The kind that comes from understanding someone's true worth in the only language people like him speak. Money and power. I had no idea of your situation. Brendan, I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. There's been no misunderstanding, I interrupt quietly. Your son made it very clear that I wasn't good enough to sit in the front row at my own daughter's wedding, that my presence would hurt the optics of the event. He was right in a way. I don't belong in this world, but not for the reasons he thought. I turn to Alina, who has tears streaming down her carefully made-up face. I love you. I have always loved you. Everything I did, every sacrifice I made, was so you could have opportunities I never had. But somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing me as your mother and started seeing me as an embarrassment. I won't apologize for who I am or how I've lived my life. Mom, please, Alina's voice breaks. I didn't know, Brendan didn't tell me he talked to you. Didn't you though? I asked gently. When was the last time you invited me to meet your friends? When did you stop calling? When did you start making excuses about why I couldn't be part of your new life? She has no answer. We both know the truth. I'm leaving now, I say. I'm going to the gala, where I'll be surrounded by people who value compassion and service over appearance and status. You have a choice to make, sweetheart. You always have had a choice. I just hope you choose the person you want to be, not the person you think others want you to be. I turn toward the waiting cars. Harrison offers his arm, which I take gratefully. My legs feel shaky, my heart hammering against my ribs. Behind me, I hear chaos erupting. Brendan arguing with his father, Alina sobbing, guests murmuring and filming, the perfect wedding dissolving into scandal and confusion. Margaret, wait. Alina's voice desperate and broken. I pause but don't turn around, I can't. If I look at her face, I might crumble. I'm sorry, she sobs. I'm so sorry, I was wrong. I was terrible. Please don't go, please. But I have to, I say, my own voice thick with tears now. You need to decide what kind of person you want to be, Alina. Whether you want to live in a world where people are valued for their humanity or their usefulness. I can't make that choice for you. I choose you, Alina says. I choose you, Mom. I was stupid and shallow and cruel, but I choose you. I turn then, unable to help myself. My daughter is running toward me in her wedding dress, mascara streaking her face, her carefully styled hair coming loose. She crashes into me like she did when she was 7 and I was the whole world to her. I'm sorry, she keeps saying. I'm so sorry. I hold her while she cries, this woman child I raised alone, who I loved more than my own life. Around us, I'm aware of the watching crowd, the cameras, the shocked faces of the Hartfield family. Brendan stands frozen, his perfect wedding disintegrating before his eyes. I can't do this, Alina whispers against my shoulder. I can't marry someone who would treat you that way, who would make me choose. But you don't have to decide right now, I tell her. You're emotional. No, she pulls back, looking at me with red-rimmed eyes. I'm finally seeing clearly. Brendan asked you to sit in the back. He was ashamed of you, and I let him be. I was ashamed too, and that's unforgivable. You're the strongest, most generous person I know, and I treated you like you were nothing. Brendan approaches, his face a mask of controlled panic. Alina, let's talk about this privately. You're upset. Your mother has obviously orchestrated some kind of scene. A scene? Alina turns to him, and her voice has an edge I've never heard before. You humiliated my mother on my wedding day. You asked her to hide in the back because you were embarrassed by her, and I let you. That's the scene, Brendan. That's what's unforgivable. She works as a custodian, Brendan hisses, low enough that only we can hear. I didn't know about the money, obviously, but you never told me your mother was a significant philanthropist. You let me believe. I let you believe what I wanted to believe. Alina cuts him off. That I came from nothing and made myself into something through my own merit. But the truth is, I came from everything that matters. I had a mother who loved me enough to work 2 jobs, who sacrificed everything, who became a secret philanthropist instead of flaunting her wealth because she stayed true to who she was. She pulls off her engagement ring, a massive diamond that probably cost more than my car, and hands it to him. I can't marry someone who doesn't understand that. The gasps from the crowd are audible. Candace Hartfield looks like she might faint. Sterling's face has gone from calculating to carefully neutral, the expression of a man who knows when to cut his losses. Alina, you're being irrational, Brendan starts. I'm being honest, maybe for the first time in months. Alina turns back to me. Can I come with you to the gala? I know I don't deserve it, but... You're wearing a wedding dress, I point out, starting to smile despite everything. I don't care. Dr. Chen laughs, a bright, clear sound. We can find her something to change into at the hospital. Lord knows we have enough spare scrubs. Actually, Patricia Reynolds speaks up. I have a cocktail dress in my car. I was planning to change before the gala. We're about the same size. Alina looks at these people, strangers to her but people who know me, who value me, and something in her face shifts. Understanding, maybe, or shame, or hope. I would be honored, she says quietly, to attend my mother's gala, if she'll have me. I look at my daughter in her $15,000 wedding dress, makeup ruined, perfect day in shambles, and I see the little girl who used to fall asleep in my lap. I see the teenager who worked so hard to get into Wellesley. I see the young woman who got swept up in a world of appearances and lost herself along the way. Let's go home, I say. We walk together toward the waiting cars, leaving behind the country club, the shocked guests, the Hartfield family, and the life Alina thought she wanted. Brendan calls after her once, but she doesn't turn around. As we drive away, Alina's hand finds mine. Tell me about Dad's patents, she says. Tell me everything. I want to know the whole story. I want to know who you really are. So I tell her about Robert, about the patents, about the choice I made to keep working and give anonymously, about the children saved, the nurses educated, the families helped, about finding meaning not in having wealth but in using it with purpose. Why didn't you tell me? She asks. Why did you let me think we were struggling? We weren't struggling. We had enough. And I wanted you to understand that enough is different from excess. That the value of a life isn't measured in bank accounts or job titles. I pause, but maybe I should have been more open. Maybe if you'd known, you wouldn't have felt like you had to hide where you came from. Or maybe I would have just hidden it differently, Alina says softly. The problem wasn't what you told me or didn't tell me. The problem was who I chose to become. The gala is held at the hospital's grand hall, a beautiful space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. By the time we arrive, Alina now wearing Patricia's elegant navy dress, her face scrubbed clean of makeup, the room is already filling with guests. Doctors, nurses, hospital staff, donors, community leaders. People who dedicate their lives to helping others. When Harrison introduces me as the evening's guest of honor, the applause is thunderous. I stand at the podium in my clearance rack dress, looking out at faces that have become dear to me over years of quiet service, and I feel Alina's hand slip into mine. I want to say something, she whispers. I nod and step aside, giving her the microphone. My name is Alina Sutton, she begins, her voice shaking slightly. Many of you don't know me, but you know my mother. You know her as the woman who cleans your floors and empties your trash. Some of you also know her as the anonymous donor who has given millions to this hospital. I knew her as both those things and neither. Today I was supposed to get married. Instead, I'm here because I realized I'd been living a lie. The room is silent, every eye on her. I was ashamed of my mother, Alina continues, tears flowing freely now. I was ashamed that she worked as a custodian. I was ashamed of her simple clothes and her calloused hands. I wanted to fit into a world where people are judged by their appearance and their connections, and I was willing to erase my own history to do it. But my mother didn't raise me to be ashamed. She raised me to be kind, to value people for who they are, to understand that service and sacrifice matter more than status. Somehow, I forgot all of that. Today, she reminded me. She turns to me, her face wet with tears, but also something else, something like peace. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being ashamed. I'm sorry for choosing appearances over authenticity. I'm sorry for forgetting that you're the strongest, most generous person I know. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for showing me what really matters. The applause that follows is different from before, warmer, more emotional. I see nurses crying, doctors smiling, Harrison wiping his eyes. These are people who understand that real transformation happens in moments like this, when we choose to become better than we were. I hold my daughter while she cries, and I cry too. For the years lost, for the pain we caused each other, for the lessons learned the hard way, but also for the hope that we can begin again, that we can rebuild what was broken. Later, after the speeches and the dinner and the dancing, Alina and I stand by the windows looking out at the city lights. What will you tell people, I ask, about today? The truth, she says, that I was engaged to someone who didn't value the things that matter most, that I was living a life that wasn't authentic to who I am, that my mother taught me the most important lesson I've ever learned, that dignity isn't about where you sit or what you wear or who you impress. It's about how you treat people and what you do with what you're given. That's a hard lesson. The best ones usually are. She leans her head on my shoulder. I'll have to find a new apartment. New job, probably. Brendan's father has connections at my firm. Start over. You can stay with me, I offer. The apartment's small, but I'd like that for a while at least, until I figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be someone else. We stand in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe and pulse below us. Somewhere out there, a wedding reception is probably still happening, or maybe it's dissolved into scandal and disappointment. Brendan is probably salvaging what he can, explaining to his colleagues, managing the optics. The Hartfields are probably already distancing themselves from the debacle. But here, in this room full of people who dedicate their lives to healing and helping, I feel at peace. My daughter is beside me, really beside me, for the first time in years. The money that terrified me so long ago has found its purpose. The work I do, the humble, invisible work of cleaning and maintaining, continues to ground me in what's real. Dr. Okonkwo approaches with 2 glasses of champagne. A toast, he says, to the most remarkable custodian Mercy General has ever had, and to second chances. We raise our glasses, and I think about all the ways a life can unfold, how tragedy can become transformation, how shame can become understanding, how a daughter can lose her way and find it again. To second chances, Alina echoes, and when our glasses clink together, it sounds like the beginning of something new. The night continues around us, music and laughter and celebration. But what I'll remember most is this moment. Standing with my daughter, both of us finally seeing clearly, both of us choosing truth over appearance, authenticity over acceptance. Because in the end, that's what matters. Not the wedding that didn't happen, not the front row seat I was denied, not the money or the status or the carefully managed optics. What matters is knowing who you are and having the courage to live accordingly. What matters is raising a daughter who can lose herself and find her way back. What matters is understanding that real worth cannot be measured by any external standard. It can only be known by looking honestly at how we treat others and what we do with the gifts we're given. As the gala winds down and guests begin to leave, Alina and I walk out together into the cool night air. My old Honda sits in the parking lot, humble and reliable, exactly where I left it this morning when I thought I was driving to my daughter's wedding. I love you, Mom, Alina says. I love you too, sweetheart. I always have, I always will. We drive home through quiet streets, past the country club where a different version of this day might have unfolded, toward my small apartment where we'll figure out what comes next. Together. And when I think about the front row I was told not to sit in, I realize Brendan was right about one thing. I didn't belong there. I belonged exactly where I ended up,